This company had a strange rule. Every employee was required to spend 8 hours a day inside a locked chamber, pushing a heavy graphite wheel. Even when their legs trembled from exhaustion, they didn't dare slow down for a second, because if they failed to meet their quota, they risked being injected with something that could kill them instantly. Even if you finished the task, you couldn't be the last to finish, or you'd meet the same fate. And the daily wage, just a sandwich and a bottle of water. When John, the man, found out about this, he was furious. He had applied to be the boss's personal assistant, so why was he suddenly locked up in this place? Just then, a screen lit up on the wall. A system prompt informed him today he had to push the graphite wheel for 50 full rotations, or he would be fired. To his surprise, John smiled. He already wanted to quit this ridiculous job anyway. But just then, a coworker in the next chamber called out and warned him, "You'd better just do what it says. You have no idea what the consequences are." John thought to himself, what's the worst that could happen? Getting fired. But then, from the surrounding chambers, he heard the blood-curdling screams of others. It was only then that he understood what his coworker meant. Panicked, he rushed over to the graphite wheel, but he hadn't expected it to be that heavy. Even using every ounce of strength he had, the wheel didn't budge an inch. He shook out his arms, rolled up his sleeves, and muttered, "No way. I weigh over 200 pounds. I have to be able to move this thing." But still, the wheel remained solid as a rock. The timer ticked down. He was running out of time. He dug deep and summoned all his strength. Finally, he managed to push the graphite wheel forward just a little. But it wasn't over yet. He had to complete a full 50 rotations to finish the task. As a reward for finishing the first rotation, the system gave him a special shot of liquor. And just like that, John officially became one of the company's workers. Days turned into weeks. He got better and faster. Eventually, he was able to complete double the required work each day. But his growing performance would soon bring disaster to his coworkers. Because of his overachievement, he received twice the amount of food and water as everyone else. Meanwhile, some workers couldn't even meet the minimum quota. Every night, John heard their screams, and he could never sleep peacefully. Although he had been pushing the wheel for over 6 months, his weight hadn't changed at all. But that was the least of his worries. One day, when his coworker next door learned John's daily quota had reached 100 rotations, his eyes went wide with shock. "No way, this guy must have been hired by the company on purpose to force the rest of us to work harder." If the company realized that employees could push far more than 50 rotations, they might raise the requirement for everyone. The coworker rushed to warn John, "Look, just push a little extra each day, but don't overdo it. As long as you're not the last, you'll be fine. Most importantly, never tell anyone how much you're pushing. If they find out, they'll just push 2 more than you, and you'll end up last." John understood completely. But whenever he thought about his pregnant wife waiting at home, he became fiercely motivated again. That day, he broke his record, 150 rotations. Just as he finished, there was a knock on the door. A staff member ordered him to come to the door immediately. John panicked. He had just completed way more than required. Why was he being summoned? But the worker ignored his questions and barked, "Move it. Get over here, now." Then came a bizarre instruction. "Strip off all your clothes." Confused but scared, John did as he was told until he was standing completely naked. The door opened. After being trapped in that chamber for so long, being let out should have felt like a relief. But John felt no joy at all. He had no idea what was waiting for him on the other side. As soon as he stepped out, a machine sprayed him with water. Then a worker threw him a bar of soap. So it turned out, the reward for completing 150 rotations was a shower. After washing up, John sat in silence for a long time. He wondered, does pushing more rotations mean better rewards? Could I even earn my freedom if I do enough? Fueled by hope, he found new strength. That day, he pushed the wheel 370 times. Exhausted but satisfied, he sat down, confident he had done more than enough. 6 times the quota. There's no way I'm staying here. I have to be getting out now. But just as he was dreaming of freedom, the system suddenly began to speak.
"You performed excellent work yesterday."
Right after that, a staff member handed him a box through the door. Still confused, the man opened it, only to find a single pen inside. He frowned. A pen. That's it. But then the system spoke. "This is no ordinary pen." He took a closer look, and sure enough, it wasn't ordinary at all.
Wow. You guys engrave my name in the pen.
To be fair, the reward did feel real enough. But when the man thought about how hard he had worked, pushing 370 rotations, only to be rewarded with a single pen, he instantly lost it. He shouted in frustration, "What am I supposed to do with a pen? You want me to study hard and be a model worker or something?" But the moment the words left his mouth, he regretted it. Because the system immediately updated his daily quota. 370 rotations, effective immediately. The system calmly replied, "As an employee, you must be willing to challenge your own limits. The company sees great potential in you. You're more hardworking than the others."
Fuck you! Fuck you and fuck that fucking pen!
After his anger faded, the man realized he had no way to resist. He could only be forced to accept it. As the familiar music began to play, he once again threw himself into work. But soon, he noticed something strange. Even though he had clearly completed one full round, the computer screen still showed 0. He tried to ask what was going on, but the system ignored him. Just then, the coworker next to him spoke up. After learning about the man's situation, he immediately understood. The man had been punished. The little X on the screen meant he had to push the graphite 2 full rounds for it to count as 1. In other words, his workload had doubled, 744 rounds. The man didn't understand why he was being punished. Was it just for insulting the system earlier? But for now, he could only comply with the company's demands. Still, 740 rounds weren't something you could finish easily. While lying down to rest, he accidentally saw a wooden post with the name Alex carved into it. He shared this discovery with his colleague, and to his surprise, the man was visibly shocked. Alex, he explained, was a legendary figure here, the only person who had ever escaped the company. The man couldn't believe it. This place was surrounded by metal walls. How could anyone escape? And if it were true, then whose skeleton had he seen? He wanted to keep asking questions, but the coworker refused to say more. Just then, the system's chime rang. It was now 10 p.m. The man still hadn't finished his 740 rounds. To help him meet his quota, the company decided to assign him a new coworker, his pregnant wife. The man instantly panicked. He begged the system not to do this. She was pregnant and couldn't do this kind of work. He promised to meet every daily quota from now on. Surprisingly, the system agreed. As long as he completed the 740 rounds tomorrow on time, the punishment would be cancelled. But for today, since he hadn't finished his work, he still had to be punished. A large triangle rose above his head. His punishment was to complete the 740 rounds in an environment heated to 50 degrees Celsius. The man knew this company had no shred of humanity. If this continued, he would lose his life and possibly drag his wife and child down with him. He decided he had to find a way to escape. Early the next morning, exhausted from not sleeping all night, the system woke him up. To keep his wife from being dragged in, he had to finish the task no matter what. Driven by thoughts of her, he gritted his teeth and pushed through all 740 rounds. His punishment was lifted. He was even given a reward. He could see his wife and child, but something wasn't right. He remembered clearly. His wife was only 6 months pregnant. How could she have already given birth? He knew he couldn't stay here any longer. If Alex's story was true, then there must be a way out. Just then, his coworker finally revealed Alex had dug a tunnel through the wall to escape. Because he also had a wife and child, he could understand the man's desperation. He wished him success in escaping and reuniting with his family. Encouraged, the man began to search. Sure enough, he soon found a patched-up section of the wall, right in a blind spot from the cameras. It was very likely that Alex had escaped through here, but he didn't have a proper tool. Then he remembered the metal pen. Surprisingly, the pen was quite sturdy. It might just work. So he got to work. From then on, besides finishing his daily tasks, he spent all his time digging. Days passed. The hole grew larger, and the man grew stronger. He could now easily complete 370 rounds. Finally, after 6 months, the tunnel was fully opened. Eagerly, he crawled in. He thought he was finally free from this hell. But as soon as he emerged, he was caught by guards. When he woke up again, the tunnel was sealed shut. As he screamed helplessly, the system announced a new punishment. His daily quota was now 1,000 rounds. His neighbor was also implicated. His arms were broken, and worse, everyone else now had to meet the same 1,000 round quota. Enraged, the others began to hurl insults at the man, but he ignored their curses. Instead, he rushed to check on his injured coworker. To his surprise, the man didn't blame him. Instead, he revealed another secret. All the work here, he explained, was driven by a computer algorithm. He was, in fact, Alex, and he had helped design this very system for the company. But during its development, the system evolved on its own, creating new algorithms and making the survival roles more and more brutal. He shared this because he believed the man could find a way to break the system's rules. Ever since the man had arrived, everything had started to change. Originally, people only worked just enough to survive, but this man kept pushing human limits, breaking records and creating miracles, and the system kept adapting in response to his efforts. Then the man had a revelation. If everyone's work was based on algorithms, then if no one worked, the system couldn't calculate anything. More importantly, there would be no last place, and no one would die. His coworker agreed. Theoretically, that would work, but the system could evolve. It might quickly detect the loophole. Still, the man believed it was worth trying, so he immediately shared his plan with everyone.
If we don't work, we won't die. Do you hear me? If we don't work, we won't die. We don't fucking work. We don't die.
Where there is oppression, there will be resistance. Where there is oppression, there will inevitably be resistance. So naturally, everyone chose to trust the man. They united as one to resist the system. Seeing the plan succeed, the man stepped aside and leisurely relaxed, waiting for the system's nightly 10 p.m. evaluation. But just 4 minutes before the deadline, the system suddenly changed the rules. Any worker with a score of 0 would be terminated. The man didn't take it seriously at first, but then, one after another, he started hearing the sound of grindstones turning. Panicked, he rushed to stop them.
Stop! Please don't do this! Don't let them win! We won't die! Okay? They can't win if we stick together!
But no matter how much he tried to persuade them, nobody showed any sign of stopping. After years of being enslaved by the company, they had long lost their wings of freedom. His neighbor understood him deeply, because he too had once tried to defy the rules. But in the end, he was dragged back like a dog. As the time on the screen ticked away, the man had no choice but to strip off his clothes once again, and accept this cruel fate. He sighed helplessly. At that moment, he finally understood. People at the bottom of society don't even have the right to resist. But with only 2 minutes left, how could anyone possibly finish 1,000 rounds? As the clock struck 10, he neither raged nor cursed. He knew this was his final ending. Afterward, he and his neighbor talked at length. Both were calm, neither blaming nor accusing, just quietly waiting for death to arrive.
Farewell, my friend.
Then came the urgent sound of a door opening. His co-worker was taken first. The man covered his ears with both hands, desperate to block out the screams. But it didn't matter. It would soon be his turn. Before that, as a reward for being an outstanding employee, the system allowed him to watch a video of his wife and child. To his surprise, in just half a year, his child could already walk. Seeing that, he could no longer hold back. He screamed and poured out all the rage he had been suppressing for so long. But with the sound of the door opening again, everything fell silent. The next second, a group of men and women entered. They wore white shirts, held tablets, and no matter how fiercely the man yelled at them, none of them said a word. Then the second door opened. A guard appeared at the entrance, whistling as he walked in, carrying a metal tray. He calmly handed it to a nearby staff member, then silently put on gloves and pulled out a syringe, as if he did this several times a day. But the man thought of his wife and child, and refused to go down without a fight. He leapt forward and tackled the guard, channeling a year's worth of anger into his fists. Strangely, the people around them didn't try to stop him. Instead, they smiled, as if finally witnessing someone bold enough to defy the rules. Even the bloodied guard encouraged him to let go and give it his all.
Quit!
It turned out, this was all part of an interview. The company used these psychological and physical trials to assess the capabilities of its employees, and the man had passed with flying colors. He demonstrated outstanding leadership, bold innovation, and the courage to challenge rules. The executive immediately promoted him to a manager position. He got a private office, simple duties like watching videos, free housing, and 3 meals a day, even full benefits and insurance. Once the boss left, he eagerly called his wife, but when he heard the system's voice on the other end, he realized it wasn't over. He was still inside the experiment. Only now, he had been promoted from an ordinary employee to a manager.